Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Twin Peaks. A very interesting episode with a lot of interesting developments that we can take time to break down. So, first thing I want to start off with, we learn more about that dude, Richard, the dude who ran over the kid and everything, kind of mixed up in the drug business, where the hell that whole storyline is. I mean, I say sideline, but then again, everything in Twin Peaks is connected and everything. So, but at least that part of the plot, like with the whole drug thing, he's part of it and everything. For one, we end up finding out he's friends with Chad, who works at the department, which is crazy. Which is now, it just furthers how, you already had the feeling of, I've said it multiple times, Chad's kind of a piece of shit. It's like now you added another layer of piece of shit, because he's scummy, because I don't know what the connection is there. I don't know whether they've been longtime buddies, or is it just, obviously Bobby hasn't always been like the best dude himself, but he cleaned up his act. Nevertheless, it seems like, I don't know whether that's why Chad started working there. It's so he could be in a position to help his buddies. I kind of feel like Chad, just personality-wise, seems like one of those dudes who just loves the power, just the authority and everything. Kind of like another character from another TV show that I've kind of been talking about recently. But that's his own thing. But it's just like, I'm curious, he seems like he doesn't like the job. He doesn't care for it. He just, like I said, it's kind of a piece of shit. I can't help keep saying it over and over again because it's pretty true. Lucy kind of keeps an eye on him with the whole situation, because it's just like he ended up getting the mail because basically this lady Miriam had wrote a letter to the sheriff about oh yeah, Richard's the one who killed that little boy, ran him over and everything. He wrote down a letter detailing everything that went down. But she idiotically was like, oh, I just sent it today. Because she was smart to be like, yeah, if anything happens to me, they'll know exactly it's you. But then she's like, yeah, I sent it today, so he killed her. So that sucked. Granted, once again, kind of being a piece of crap that he is. Trying to clean it up for whatever reason. I don't know why, and just eat shit again. But nevertheless, being the terrible person he is, I can almost assume, depends on the relationship between Chad and Richard. Because it's it could just be just as easily that Chad's like, you know what? You want me to hold on to this letter for you? I want something in return. It seemed like he might be one of those type of dudes. Lucy saw him kind of get in the mail and everything. Whether she knows for sure, the way he was facing, I don't know if she could tell that he actually, took one of the letters or not. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. But it's I'm very curious to see how that all, comes around, because it's you're literally helping a dude who got away with not just one murder but now two. He's done a lot of shady stuff. It's when it all comes down, you're going to take the fall with them. But I don't know. I like I said, maybe we'll find out that somehow Chad has a heart of gold. At this point it's no, there's no chance of that. But maybe we'll find out more about Chad. Maybe we won't. We'll just have to wait and see. But another interesting thing we found out about Richard apparently is that he is Benjamin's grandson, Benjamin Horn. What? So, not unless he's an adopted kid or something like that. That means he's either Johnny's kid or he's Audrey's, which is kind of whoa. Because basically he robs his mom. What if his grandmother? I'm sorry to say, robbed his grandma Sylvia, because she's getting on Ben's case about it later on. Because I'm pretty sure that is not unless because I kept thinking that was just some caretaker character, but I didn't realize that was his wife. The fact of the matter is, I kind of forget what his wife looked like, because she never actually popped up that often during the seasons 1 or 2, or the original show. Once again, however you want to look at it, she never popped up that often. So I think that's why. But it seems like that is her, because she's oh, I'm gonna send me more money. He's I'm not going to send you more money. You're going to send me more money, or I'm going to get I'm going to get my lawyer involved. It's a whole headache for Ben and everything. But obviously he's getting money because he wants to get out of town before anything really comes about. Hey, them finding out. Turns out Johnny isn't dead. He just really messed himself up. To the point his mom had to kind of tie him down and whatnot, just to kind of make sure he wouldn't hurt himself. So it seems like there might not be any anything coming about. Like I said last episode, I was oh, if he died, maybe that'd be something that kind of brings Audrey back into the story, whether it's she was away and then she left Twin Peaks and now she's coming back because of Johnny's funeral. He's okay. But once again, it's we don't know. No matter what Johnny's circumstances, maybe there's still a possibility he might be the dad. like I said, there's always a possibility of Audrey. She still has yet to come up in conversation, so I mean, we really don't know what the state of the Horn family really is after everything. I mean, obviously we see that they're kind of divorced and everything, so, but he's getting money to run and everything, so very interested to see where that all goes down. Like, easily be, you know, he was already a piece of shit before. Now we're just reiterating more that he continues to be a piece of shit, Richard. So, ooh, and there's also that whole storyline with Shelley's daughter, played by Amanda Seyfried. I know I'm probably mispronouncing that name, but her boyfriend that she's with is kind of flipping out. He's like, "Oh yeah, the fact is we don't have money for this and stuff like that. You're working like such a minimum wage job or stuff like that." He's like, "I know what you did." Well, that means I don't know. We're just chalking that up there. Also, quick side note, I thought it was kind of an interesting thing. I love that Jacoby's got his little, I guess you would refer to it as a podcast, where, I mean, it looks like he's doing like a thing where he just kind of rants and stuff about like, oh, the state of things, pharmacies, government, stuff like that. And Nadine's a huge fan of it. She's just like, oh, he's so beautiful. I don't think they've never, I was about to say, I take that back. I was about to say they've never had any interactions in a previous show, or previous seasons. Like, yeah, they did. Like during the whole like her losing her memory things. I think when she kind of reverted being a high schooler again, I'm pretty sure they had interactions then. Like, granted, she might not remember them, but I don't know. I mean, who's to say what kind of relationship might be after like this time period? Like after returning back to her original self at the end of this like second season. So maybe like, there was kind of like, oh, he worked with her and everything. It's just so interesting because Jacoby was always an oddball, but he seems even more so now. And now it's all about selling shovels. But the thing I want to point out is the whole run silent, run Drapel. So it seems like Nadine's whole business idea actually came about because it's actually legitimately a store. Interestingly enough, with a shovel in the front of it, I guess like that was her buying. I don't know whether she like lives in the back of the workshop or not. But remember that was her whole thing. Like she wanted to make silent runners, but it never really came about. Like I think the people she was going to about getting money for it kind of turned her down. So, but it seems like something worked out for her, so that's good. Still don't know where she stands after where her story left off, but I guess that was just kind of a nice little touch to be like, oh, luckily things worked out for her in that particular case. You know, we don't know about the rest of her life, but at least the business side of things is good. I mean, granted, we don't know. Maybe the business is actually shut down. I mean, from the little bit we saw of it from the outside, it looks like it's in pretty good condition. So I get the feeling like it's still in use or whatever. So, I don't know. Okay, other things that went down in the episode. Well, first of all, there's the whole Dougie, Cooper, getting examined by the doctor. It's like, wow, Dougie, you've lost a lot of weight. And then Dougie's wife checking him out and like, yeah, he really has, hasn't he? Because it's like, when you look at him, it's like, yo, like, Cooper's actually in pretty good shape, looking like really muscular and just good shape, dude. I always feel like I'm going to I think it's Kyle McLaughlin. I'm sure I'm probably butchering his last name. I might be reading it wrong, but I always look at it as like Kyle McLaughlin, but I'm sure. But the actor who plays Cooper, he must like, I wonder, does he naturally keep in good shape like that? Or was that just kind of like he worked out extra hard? Like, all right, I got to take my shirt off for this scene. So I don't know. That's just kind of interesting. And she's just staring him up like a piece of meat, just like remarkable. I'm like, wow. I was like, is this bad? And she's like, Dougie, do you find me attractive? And then they have sex. And I'm like, oh my God. And you have Sonny Jim waking up because he hears his mom screaming Tucky's name. And it's like, and then when it was all said and done, like, you see a big smile on Cooper's face. I'm like, wow, that just happened. That's amazing. I was just like, wow. That just that kind of got me off guard. I was like, dude, that's very interesting. Then also we kind of dived in a little bit more with the Minchin brothers, Brett and Rodney. I loved her story and all of this. That's how it started off, because you have Rodney reading something, taking notes and doing something, and you have that lady Candy trying to deal with a fly, and she smacks the shit out of Rodney with a remote, and it's like, what the hell are you doing? She's like, I'm so sorry. Will you ever love me again after what I've done? And just kind of like, oh God, Candy, calm down. For one, they're like, oh yeah, like let's take that hit off of Ike. So it's like, why did they have a hit out on Ike? So it doesn't seem like they were connected to the whole having a hit out on Dougie thing. Because I was thinking like, oh, you want to hit out on Ike? That must mean because you want to kind of tie up any loose ends with him going after Dougie. Maybe that other lady was someone they hired Ike to deal with, and maybe they want. I don't know. It's, or at the very least, like, they have bad blood with Ike, so it seemed like they wanted to take him out of the picture. But it's like, oh, let's take the hit off him because he's getting arrested. Like, oh, let's save the money that we're going to spend on sending another hitman after this hitman. So once again, still begs the question, who sent him after Dougie? I assume either some other people that want Dougie dead, but, you know, my main thought was always, like, Doppelganger Cooper, but I don't know. I don't know if he really understands. I think he has an idea of what's going on with that whole situation, but I mean, we'll kind of have to wait and see on that. But that whole thing with Candy, because obviously the dude that works from Dougie's business, Anthony, showed up and everything, because he's being told by the dude, that business dude, that like, hey, you need to turn the Mitchum brothers against Dougie so that he'll take care of him for us, because it seems like that whole situation's connected, because I assume this is all about Dougie finding out like all those reports about Anthony kind of skimming money or whatever the hell it is that he's doing, that the boss is kind of aware of now that he wants to talk to Dougie about. So I don't know whether it's that, whether it's something before that, or whether it's a combination of everything. They want Dougie dead, and now they're trying to turn the Mitchum brothers against him, which the Mitchum brothers already hate him because of the whole casino thing, because it's like now they think he skinned him out of a $30 million insurance thing. That they obviously, all the blame is being pointed towards Dougie, because the dude was like, yo, Anthony, either you get them to kill Dougie, if they mess up, you're gonna have to kill Dougie yourself. So there's that, plus the whole, like, you know, casino money he won too. So it seems like they're like, you basically, in their eyes, it's like Dougie doubly fucked them. So it's like, yeah, we're gonna take you down. So, but I also love that whole situation with Candy. They're like, Candy, she's like, what? Do what he said. What? Bring him here. Bring that guy here. Yes, isn't that what we said? And they're just getting so frustrated with her, just like, okay, they're watching her in the surveillance camera. She's pointing at stuff all around and stuff. A couple minutes go, okay, what the hell is she doing? I told her to bring him here, not tell him her whole damn life story. It's like, get Candy back here. And they're looking at each other. He's like, I know, we can't fire her, because if we did, she'd have nowhere to go. It's like, poor Candy. And they're like, okay, Candy, what were you talking about? Candy! What? Oh. Well, I was talking about the fact is, it's so good. It's such a good thing that we have AC here. And they're like, God, Candy. It's like she takes dits to the next level, and I love her for it. That's just amazing. I loved it. Plus, on top of the fact that she slapped shit out of him with a remote trying to kill a fly. I was like, there's no way she's actually going to do it. I thought she was going to hit him on top of the head. It's like, no, she slapped him across the face with it, and she was just breaking down. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's like, wow, that's amazing. So now they're setting up that meeting with Dougie next episode. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. Will they be pissed at Doug? I mean, obviously with what state Cooper's in, he still finds a way to manage, like, to get around situations. So I'm interested to see how this all plays out, because they're, like I said, they're going into this super pissed because they're like, you've doubly screwed us out of money. So like, dude, we're going to kill you super hard. So then on the side with the FBI and everything, we have, for one, Albert kind of having dinner with the Emmy lady. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And you even have Tammy and Gordon kind of been like, oh, like laughing and stuff about being like, oh, that's so cute. He's kind of on a date and everything. It's like, wow, you never seen that side of Albert before. So that's kind of interesting. But also this is moment. They focus on that drawing that Gordon was working on. It looked like, reindeer or something. It had like horns and stuff. So I was like, I don't know what that was about. But also when he opened the door, he kind of saw a vision of Laura. Kind of Laura, like I would assume around the time Laura was attacked by Bob, maybe? But I don't know. He saw that, but quickly was like, okay, what was that about? But Albert was at the door, and he was like, okay, basically, there were some messages. One message that was sent to Diane, and then Diane kind of responded. That basically is like, oh, yeah, they have Hastings, and that he's going to take them to the site. So it's like, wait a minute. Wait, what? So Diane's like neck deep in all of it. So does she knows that's not the real Cooper, or is she working with him because she actually thinks it is the real Cooper that she's been covering for him, pretending like, oh, that is it. So why lie about the fact is that's why say that that's not the real Dale then? or does she feel like no, this is the real deal because you know this, or I don't know. I mean, because the fact of the matter is, she was like, when was the last time we saw each other, trying to determine whether or not he's the real deal or not. But then it's like, I don't know. I mean, because it has been like 20 plus years, so it's like that time frame he could have visited her at any point in time, and she was thinking it was the real Cooper when it was actually the doppelganger. I don't know at all what that all means. And then on top of this, there's like the recording things from like back in episode 1 that took place in New York, where those I think her character's name was Tracy. It's kind of interesting I caught on to that, because I was just going to refer to her as Madeline Zima, the actress who played her. But her and that dude ended up getting killed by whatever the hell came out of that box that, you know, is a government thing, I'd assume, to kind of keep watch on it. And apparently on one of the recordings they caught Doppelganger Cooper, so he's mixed up in all that in some shape or form. Like I said, it's also interesting that it's still yet to come up that like Cooper was caught in, like he popped up in that thing. So either they haven't got to those parts of the recording yet, because I mean it's like a lot of data to sift through, so because those things are constantly recording, so that's a lot of data to get through. But I guess they haven't gotten to it yet. And what about the whole situation with Cooper? Like, because the fact of the matter is his fingerprints were ran last episode. I mean, not list of cops just haven't had a chance to go through with it yet. But I guess those things kind of take a little while to kind of work their way through the systems. But I'm surprised that hasn't set up any red alerts for the FBI, because they know that Cooper's in Mexico, but then they find out that this Cooper is somewhere else and he looks different and everything. I feel like that, you know, start raising some red flags there, but I don't know. And so I'm very curious, like, what is this whole thing with Diane? Like, is she confused? Is she one of the bad guys now? Or like, what does that all mean? And then finally, there's a whole thing that Margaret says to Hulk, basically saying, and like, oh yeah, electricity's all around us, everything. It's got a glow around, was it like the sun and the moon or something? Like there's a glow in the sky, and eventually what will be left when that glow, what will be left in, you know, of the dark, what will remain in the dark when that glow goes away, and saying all this other stuff. And it's like the circle, it's almost complete. So basically making me think like basically, once again, using a chessboard analogy, all the pieces are almost lined up. Everyone's like almost there, ready to play their part. It's like you have the two Truman brothers on your side. They are both true men, and that that there are things that are and there are things that aren't. Laura is one that it's a whole thing, and it's like, what? I don't know. Like, I mean, obviously Laura is still connected in all this, because the whole thing that went down like 2 episodes ago, the whole thing about like the spear and it had Laura's face in it, it seemed like it was going to Earth. Like I say, even when it's all said and done, like Laura is still neck deep in all of this. I'm surprised her mom hasn't popped up more, because I feel like she saw the visions too, so you would think she'd kind of pop up more into this. But maybe when Laura's like presence in the story kind of really picks up, then her mom, maybe her mom will kind of represent like Laura, and it's like, oh yeah, mom's here, and kind of like, you know, she's seeing visions of Laura or something. I don't know. Because part of me would like, you would like, it makes sense, because it's like you would think once Laura's murder was solved that'd be that, but it's like no, because her death is connected to like just greater evil and everything else that's mixed up in all of this. Like I said, pieces are there. You just still can't quite make out the big picture. Probably won't until the final episode. I mean, hell, you never know. When it's all said and done, might still walk away with like, what the fuck? So, I mean, we'll just kind of have to wait and see on that. But I mean, overall, a very good episode. Like I said, those interesting developments, especially with Richard, didn't expect any of that to come about. So, also, what's going to go down with you know, Hawks and, you know, the department side of the story, like where they go from here and everything. Because the whole thing is like, oh, to Cooper's, like it's left in a message from Major Briggs, but it's, oh yeah, because they still haven't gone to that. Well, I would assume Hulk would be with them, but it's like, not unless Bobby only took Frank with them, but I would assume he would take Hulk too. So it's like, we'll just have to. I mean, I keep saying Frank. Is it Fred? It's Frank, right? Big Brother Truman. I assume he's the big brother. Maybe I'm completely full of shit on that. I don't know. But I'd assume, so I don't think that happened yet, because I feel like if it did, they would have went out of their way to kind of like show us that. So maybe that's something we'll see next episode too, because it's like they kind of have to wait for the right time to go there, and it's like, what will they find and stuff like that. Maybe what Margaret's saying in this episode will help that along. So I don't know. Still walking away from this episode with a lot of questions. No surprise there. So, like I said, very interested to see what goes down in the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.